Hey there, folks. Welcome to Spectrum Pulse. We talk about music, movies, art, and culture. And normally I would just post this on Patreon as an update to the folks who normally contribute to my schedule. But then I realized it'd be a prime opportunity to say more here. So, time for a brief update on what happened the previous year. In short, all things considered, it could have and arguably should have been a lot worse. I can't imagine what a lot of folks have been through in the course of the pandemic and the lockdown and the societal instability and the uprisings that have surrounded it, which apparently are just going to keep on happening in 2021. Please stay safe out there, folks. But for someone who works from home full time, it almost proved too easy to refocus big time on my reviews and my big decade end wrap ups of what were long in coming, and I found tremendously rewarding to get out the door. Now, of course, the biggest story in 2020 for my channel, outside of those decade end list, was On the Pulse, my general wrap-up show where I would cover 6 to 10 albums a week in detail. Overall, I'd say it's mostly a success. I managed to get solo reviews off here and there. I was able to prioritize, cover more ground. You would think everything was fine and dandy going forward, and yet it's an experiment that by the end of this year might require a little bit more fine-tuning. See, as much as I was grateful for all the engagement from y'all and so many albums that got requested, keeping a week-by-week schedule of it all was a little bit draining and not always as fruitful as I was hoping, for a couple of big reasons. For one, as I've mentioned at previous times, I got a fair few of the let's have Mark do homework and listen to 6 to 8 albums in preparation to cover new projects, most of which did not warrant that amount of attention because the bands were long past their primes. Then there were the retreads of specific sounds and genres that some people never seem to get tired of, but for me just bore me in record time. If you're looking for a reason why so much rock and heavy metal is so goddamn stale, those are the two preeminent factors, let's be real here. But probably the most obnoxious cases were where I got the album request, I did all the work to cover the project, only then to get a response from some patrons saying, oh well, it wasn't really that good, I just wanted to fill the slot on the schedule, I didn't have anything else, so I thought why not? And for someone who listens to albums in excess of 4 to 6 times and making On the Pulse, hearing this about hour-plus projects in this territory, not gonna lie, genuinely a little bit infuriating. But here are the two larger problems. Number one, in trying to keep such a set schedule so I wouldn't get overwhelmed, I just couldn't make as many solo reviews as I wanted to dig more deeply into projects that probably deserved them because I had to get them on the Pulse, and that came out weekly. And I didn't want to delay talking about the albums because timeliness is so important on YouTube. And number two, I covered over an album a day's worth of material, and to be blunt, I don't think that's healthy in terms of engagement with art. It becomes rushed. You don't let things sink in the way you would like. And while sometimes it felt fine because the project just didn't give me that much to say, and there was a lot of that this year too, other times it just felt hurried in a way that I didn't want to be. Or it hurt my drive to go hunting for new music because I just did not have time because I had to deal with that backlog. Worse still is that in keeping such a rigorous schedule to just stay on top of all the album requests, all those video essays that I was promising for 2020 and that I'd actually scripted, I didn't have time to film or work on to the same degree. And again, I still work full time. It's been a chaotic 2020. I moved for the first time in 6 years, as you can tell by my backdrop, and I've had personal stuff that's really demanded attention. Spoiler alert, the way things are going, said personal stuff is gonna be a bigger priority for me going forward. That's just how things turn out as you get older. And you know what, let me get into the numbers a little bit. The solo reviews of popular acts, they drew a lot of attention, as you would expect. More than your usual On the Pulse episode, unless that had a big name or two. Having a lot of artists clumped together did help for somewhat consistent viewership, but it didn't always lead to new viewers, and I want to see the channel keep growing. I think there's a balancing act that needs to come forward, and I think to some extent I let that balance get away from me thanks to the allure of a more consistent routine. That being said, it was a pretty solid year where I genuinely enjoyed covering a lot of music, but there do need to be a few tweaks to the formula for me to stay on track. So here's what's gonna happen. There's going to be more solo reviews coming in 2021, and I will be prioritizing them in what I want to cover, be they requested or otherwise. And that's because On the Pulse will no longer be a weekly thing. More of when I hear the album and have my opinion on it solidified, I will film something, and when I got 8 to 10 reviews filmed, I'll put it all together, I'll put it out. Likely more than monthly, but not weekly. For those of you who are worried about my backlog, suffice to say I'm not going to be just enforcing my rules surrounding lyrics being readily available and my date range conditions to ensure recency, but also, if albums are not getting votes on my schedule, they're gonna get dropped. I'm also gonna be a lot more active with my veto. Some of y'all got off light this past year and pushed my rules, especially when so many of you have set hard caps on how much you're paying per month, which is something I don't really crack down on or enforce, but very well could if people try to take advantage of my good nature again. And that means I might cover less. And honestly, I'm kind of okay with it, because in 2020, I heard more albums than any other year I've ran my channel. Hell, pretty much any other year I've been alive, and I don't feel like courting burnout again. Also, it might give me a chance to bring back some top 10 lists of the best hits of previous years or the worst hits. Given my schedule, I just could not make them this year, but they are so much fun, they're a great learning experience, and I would be happy to do them more. And yes, I really do want to get those video essays out the door. The worst thing you can do is tease something for 2 to 3 years and then just never goddamn deliver. So much to the point where there is actually some theories I have seen circulated that it becomes demotivating to work on long-term projects when you've promised them so long. Again, this is just a move more for flexibility and channel growth, which I hope y'all understand, especially given how long I've been doing this thing. And no, of course, Billboard Breakdown is going nowhere. That can be a headache and a half thanks to copyright nonsense, which, undue to my unfortunate prediction, actually got worse this year. But I need to stay in touch somehow with what the kids are up to. And there are other things I'm looking to explore as well. I might do a few more streams, I might do a vinyl video or two that I've also been teasing forever, we'll have to see. And again, I've got about 6 to 8 scripts already written for video essays, and I might want to actually hire some video editors for that added little bit of punch or sparkle. If folks may be interested in paid work, you can reach out to me directly on social media if you want to take me up on that. But speaking of social media, I'm also way too active on Twitter, and I post my song reviews on Instagram, but I have also, created a TikTok where I've been shitposting very infrequently. And there may be some fast stuff I split in between IGTV and there, so go follow me at Spectrum Pulse on all social platforms if you are curious. But finally, you know, the part of me that's a writer doesn't want to be cliched and talking about how last year and how y'all have stuck with me through a tough year or for the many that preceded it. I've seen a lot of YouTubers burn out after way more success and way shorter timelines than I have had on this platform. And last year had a lot of folks step away. I get it. But as someone who lives alone and literally could not see my friends or family for chunks of last year, and who was legit terrified because of this pandemic, because I've had family pass away from it, and I've got friends who work in hospital and family work in hospitals, but also because, I mean, come on, medical science has indicated long-term effects on lung capacity, brain activity, and potentially triggering erectile dysfunction, which effectively takes out all my favorite recreational activities. Yeah, YouTube became a lifeline for me. It gave me more of a sense of structure and focus and something to absorb all of my excess energy in unprecedented times. And while I do have this gut feeling that 2021 will be better, the first week of it has proven there is a long way to go. It might be just as chaotic. I hope in this little community I built, you've been able to find some sort of escape, some spirited conversation, maybe a bit of comfort. It's also a big reason I haven't pushed hard on the Patreon thing. Please never feel obligated to join or get involved, only if you want to and are comfortably able. It might offer some privileges such as my Discord or getting albums on my schedule, but if I did not have Patreon, I would always find a way to make things work. I'm kind of wily like that. But that's my update. Thank you all so much for your support. I know personally I'm not the easiest character to deal with, but I'm happy you're all here along the way. But until then, I'm Mark. I'll see you more in 2021, and I'll see you next time.